Hello, everyone. My name is Stuart Crawford, and welcome to our webinar here for this Thursday. Yeah, hard to believe it's almost the Thanksgiving next week. Yeah, my name is Stuart Crawford, and I'm part of the marketing department over at Apex, and we'd like to welcome you to our Section 179 annual webinar with our with George Pasadegas, and George is going to talk to us about all the stuff that we need to know about Section 179. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to the GoToWebinar control panel you find on your screen. In there, you'll find a question pane. If you have any questions on any of the content that George is going to be sharing with us today, please feel free to ask your question there. When George has done his presentation, we'll go through all the questions and answer any questions you may have. If you're having trouble hearing us today, there's a chat window near the bottom of the control panel. You can chat with me, the organizer, at any time on that chat window, just in case you having some trouble hearing us. Other than that, I think we're ready to get going, George. So everyone, I'd like to introduce you to George Pasadegas, and George has some good knowledge about Section 179 and how your business can take advantage of some of the benefits this part of the IRS tax code has to offer. Over to you, George.
Okay, great. Appreciate it, Stuart. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Hopefully we'll share some good information that you can take back to your business and take advantage of one of the nice things about the massive IRS code, the Section 179 deduction that they've made available. Today, if I can click here, it's going to be pretty quick. I have a very brief agenda. We'll talk a little bit about myself and Apex real quick. If you don't know about us, we'll talk about the actual IRS Section 179, an overview of what it is, and some tips on how that might apply to your business. And then, like Stuart said, any questions, go ahead and type them into the question box at any point during the discussion, and we'll get to those at the end. We should have plenty of time. Okay, my name's George Pasadegas. I'm Director of Sales and Marketing at Apex Technology Management. You can see there I am not a tax professional, so although I'm going to be providing some information on the IRS Section 179 code, you should definitely consult your tax professional or CPA if you're going to take advantage of the deduction and make sure it does apply to you and that everything is done properly and documented properly. Some quick facts about Apex. We've been in business for 25 years. We had our really nice anniversary and new building celebration this year. We're in a nice new facility on the Sacramento River here in Redding. We're opening an office, or we have opened an office in Central California as well, down in Salinas. So we have some clients down in the Merced, Monterey, and Fresno County areas, so definitely doing some good expansion there. Got about 30 employees. I think we're up to almost 300 years of experience now combined. We provide both remote and on-site IT support, 24/7 response. Lots of certifications you can see from the major industry players, Microsoft, Cisco, VMware, those types of things. And we were listed as number 258 this year in the Managed Service Provider, the MSP Mentor Top 501 Global list. So we're real proud of that, being based here in Redding, that we're rated number 258 in the world for managed service providers. As I mentioned, we provide both remote and on-site support. We have a help desk of 5 full-time technicians staffed to take calls from our clients. So you get a live body on average within 17 seconds of calling in, and we'll start to look at your issue there. Okay, so on to the topic for today. How does Section 179 help your business? The nice thing about it is it does two things for you. You get the solution your business needs. So if you have a need in your business you've been thinking about or has come up recently and you haven't done anything about it yet, this is a perfect time to move on that and at the same time reduce your taxable income. So it's a really nice option available to your business. Okay, what is Section 179? We hear a lot about it, but basically in a normal business environment and you purchase assets or real property, you get to deduct the depreciation for that over a number of years, the useful life of that asset. So let's say 5 years, 7 years, 12 years. So different assets have different useful lifespans, and you're able to take a portion of the cost of that each year in the form of depreciation and take that off of your taxable income. What Section 179 does is it lets you recover all of the cost of qualifying property up to the limit that we'll talk about that year you put it into service. So if you were to purchase 5 new servers to replace your aging server collection at your business, you're able to write off or reduce your taxable income by the full amount of those servers this year, as opposed to spreading it out across the useful lifespan of those servers. So it's definitely a nice thing if your business is in position to do that and you've had a good year and you want to reduce your taxable income. I would encourage you to look at what you can do, not just technology related things that we're going to be talking about today, but there are other things you can buy that we'll touch on as well that can reduce your taxable income. How much can you deduct? Okay, so generally there is a dollar limit on it, and last year they made it permanent. They had been postponing in previous years the announcement of what that limit was until, in some cases, the beginning of the previous year, which didn't leave you much wiggle room to make the purchases. But they have made it permanent now. So the amount you can deduct under Section 179 for real property placed into service in 2016 has a limit of $500,000. So it doesn't have to be a single item. You can have 15, 20, 100 items, as long as the total of those items doesn't exceed $500,000. You're able to take advantage of that, and you don't have to claim the full 500. You could buy one laptop computer for $1,200 and deduct the entire cost this year. So you have some flexibility there. What property qualifies? So there's some very specific guidance from the IRS, and I put the highlights here. The property must meet these requirements in order to qualify to make that Section 179 deduction. It needs to be what they call eligible property, which I'll have in the next slide. We'll go through what that is. You must acquire it for business use, so you have to use it in your business. It has to help you conduct your business. You're not going to buy a TV for your house to watch movies on and deduct it with Section 179. It needs to be a business use, and it must be acquired by purchase, not inherited, not rented, those kinds of things. We'll touch on all of these in more detail. And it can't be property that they list on what does not qualify. So they have a specific section of things that do not qualify, which I'll also touch on. So it can't be on that list. It definitely leaves a lot of things that you're able to take advantage of for your business. Okay, so eligible property. I've got a couple slides here. It needs to be one of the following types of depreciable property: tangible personal property that is not real property. So land, for example, or a building does not qualify. That's real property. But it does include machinery and equipment, property contained in or attached to a building other than the structural components of the building. So refrigerators, grocery store counters, office equipment, printing presses, testing equipment, signs. So these are generally the things we're dealing with are in that office equipment type of category. So those definitely are eligible pieces of property. Depending on your business, there's some other things: gasoline storage tanks, pumps. This one's interesting: livestock, horses, cattle, hogs, mink, or other fur-bearing animals. So these, if you were purchasing these for business use, you can deduct them under Section 179. Also, something that we deal with quite often is off-the-shelf computer software. So there's a very specific definition of software that applies and that is eligible for the 179 deduction. And basically, it's what they mean by off-the-shelf is it is not customized software or custom developed for your business. It's available to be purchased by your business or any other business and the general public, and it can't be an exclusive license. So if you pay a software development firm to write a unique database application for your business, you cannot take that cost as a Section 179 deduction. If you buy QuickBooks, or other off-the-shelf software, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe um, Photoshop, those kinds of things, those are all deductible. You buy an electronic health record system, those are qualified because they're not customized for your business. They're off the shelf, other businesses are using them, and you're good to go. So a lot of things that we deal with as part of our projects, including like Microsoft Server operating systems, client access licenses, those things all qualify. Also eligible are qualified leasehold improvements. So if you have property and you do some improvements to the building, as long as it's non-residential, you can include some of those in your up to $500,000 of Section 179 deduction. Like I said, it has to be acquired for business use. Um, if you acquire it for only the production of income, and they give an example of an investment property or rental property, um, that does not qualify. So it has to be for your legitimate business use. And they do have a clause that allows you, if it's used for partial business use, to take advantage of the deduction. And in order to do that, it has to be used more than 50% for business in the year you place it in the service. So if you're using something 25% for business, 75% personal, does not qualify. Even 50% does not. It has to be more than 50%. That's very important for you to understand. And then you can deduct the portion of that cost that you're using for your business off of your taxes. So if you're using something that's $10,000 and you use it 75% for business, you have a $7,500 reduction in your taxable income under Section 179. So definitely something you want to look at carefully, work with your tax professional and understand that. And we recommend you have some documentation on that as well, so that if you are asked by the IRS or you're audited, you can provide that information to them fairly quickly. Like I mentioned, also it has to be property acquired by purchase. So you need to buy it or lease it. We'll talk a little bit more about leasing later, but property that you get as a gift or inheritance does not qualify. And there's some other exclusions here that you wouldn't be able to take advantage of. If it's acquired by one component member of a controlled group from another component member. So to me, that means if I have different divisions of my business and I sell one product from one division to another division within our business, I can't take that as a deduction. Nor can I take it if I acquire from a related person. So if my brother sells me a server that he has at his house or his business, I'm not able to take that. It needs to be an independent organization that you're not related to. Okay, as I mentioned, there's a list of what does not qualify. So here's the highlights. There are other things, but these are the most common ones. Land, as I mentioned, and land improvements don't qualify as Section 179 property. So if you're putting in a swimming pool in your hotel, you're paving your parking lot, you're building a wharf. We don't have too many clients doing that, but who knows? Build bridges or fences on your property. Those things do not qualify for Section 179. They're land or land improvements. If you're leasing property out to others, that doesn't count. And there's some exclusions if you're using items to property to furnish lodging or in connection with the furnishing of lodging. So that's definitely one you're going to want to talk to your tax professional on if you're in that business. Air conditioning units or heating units placed into service before 2016 are not eligible to qualify. If you place them into service this year in 2016, you can take that. And property used outside of the United States is also not qualified for the Section 179 deduction, or leased property. So those are some of the things to think about that you would not be able to take the 179 deduction for. And then there's a big one. When the Section 179 first came out, lots of businesses were buying big SUVs. They think they called it the Hummer loophole. So people were buying large Suburbans and Hummers and deducting the entire cost of that off of their taxable income. They've made a change here, and from what I can tell, you're able to deduct up to $25,000 of the cost of one of those, but not over that. And there's some specific items here. So this rule applies to any four-wheeled vehicle primarily designed or used to carry passengers over the public streets and roadways that has a gross vehicle weight rating of more than 6,000 pounds. So the Hummers and the big SUVs definitely do. Smaller cars and vehicles don't. So you're able to deduct the full cost of that. However, there are some exceptions to that $25,000 limit. If you buy a vehicle that's over that 6,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating, and it's designed to seat more than 9 passengers behind the driver's seat, so some big vans, buses, those kinds of things, you're actually able to take that deduction for the full amount. If it's equipped with a cargo area, either an open or enclosed like truck bed, for example, that's at least 6 feet in length, and it's not readily accessible from the passenger compartment. So what is that? That's a pickup truck. A contractor that buys a big pickup truck for their business, you're able to take that deduction beyond the $25,000 limit. Or if it has an integral enclosure, fully enclosing the driver compartment and does not have seating rearward of the driver's seat. So this is like a cargo van that doesn't have any seats in the back, or an ambulance, or those types of things. So there are some specific things to take into account if you're purchasing and you want to deduct a vehicle. Definitely something you want to review with your tax professional as well. Apex doesn't sell vehicles that I know of yet, so so we haven't dealt with that. But I did see that in 2016 they did put the SUV criteria in here. Okay, a couple of other tips. This is very important. The property that you're going to use for the Section 179 deduction must be placed into use by the end of the year, by December 31st, 2016. It's not good enough to just order the property or sign a contract for something. You actually have to receive it and place it into use. So if you're considering, let's say, a project in the IT area and you want to put in some new servers or replace something you have, you need to get that quoted, approved, ordered, delivered, and placed into use by the end of the year. So you need to move pretty quickly on that. If something's back ordered and it doesn't come in before the end of the year, you're not going to be able to take that deduction, and you're going to need some documentation on this. So that's very important. You also need to keep records that show the specific identification of each piece of the qualifying property, how you acquired it, where you acquired it from, and when you placed it into service. So that's important as well. You might need to recapture the deduction if the business use drops to 50% or less. So I mentioned that earlier. To qualify, you have to use this business property more than 50% for your business. If you purchase something and you're using it 75% for your business now, and things change and you now are, let's say you're using that pickup truck 75% for business, but in the next month, some middle of December, you only use it 50% for business, you're going to have to recapture that portion that you took the deduction for. If any of you are in what's called an enterprise zone, so there are specific areas, I know in Shasta County there's an enterprise zone. There are some advantages to that, and one of those is that your Section 179 deduction amount can be increased over the $500,000 limit. So there's some very specific regulations I put on there on the slide that you can see that you'd want to talk to your tax professional about. And then, very importantly, the deduction also applies to leased or financed items. So normally you would take those deductions over the multiple years that you're leasing or financing. You can finance or lease items now, or an entire project, let's say, and then take that full deduction in the year you implemented it or placed it into use. So that's a good thing. We do have some leasing companies that we work with that have specials at the end of the year, just so a business can take advantage of that. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely give us a holler and we can connect you up with a good financing company that might be able to help you out and get that technology implemented this year for you. Okay, real quick, some of the things that we typically run into that we can provide to our clients that qualifies for the 179 deduction. So routers and firewalls, everybody knows and has heard about all the latest security incidents and the rise of the breaches and the hackings that are going on, ransomware. One of the best things you can do is get on a new firewall. There are things called next-gen firewalls that have new capabilities that your existing firewall, if it's more than a year or two old, probably doesn't have, that really help limit your exposure and lock down your business. So there's some really good trade-up programs from older equipment that we can take advantage of, but they definitely qualify. Network switches, if you're on older technology that may only be doing 100 megabit or gigabit, we can put in faster switching, speed up your whole network, and you could take that as a Section 179 deduction. Wireless access points, Wi-Fi as we know it, everybody has that or wants that, and there have been some developments, the wireless AC technology that the latest access points allow, which is basically much higher speed and higher security and more reliability. So in the past, you may have an older generation wireless access point that's limiting you to 10, 20, 30, 50 megabits of performance. The new ones can go into the multiple hundreds of megabits. So they're approaching wire speed now, which is really nice. And if you have a larger facility, you can put multiple of these around and use controller-based architecture, and your team, your staff can roam across the entire property and building, and that wireless session will be seamlessly handed off to the next access point when the strength gets weak on the original one. So some really nice things have come out that you may not be taking advantage of. Servers, as I mentioned a couple times on the call, we recommend our clients replace their server at most every 5 years. They were running 24/7. They're doing more and more work. That your business is dependent on that the applications running and the files stored on those servers. So you want to make sure you're on the latest technology and you have a reliable system for that. Printers, if you need more printers, copiers, those kind of things, scanners, as you see here, those definitely are covered. Backup and disaster recovery appliances, so we have hybrid systems that include a local appliance that goes on site that has backups we can restore very quickly, and they also synchronize to the cloud. Workstations and monitors, if you're looking at maybe moving to Windows 10 or taking advantage of new technology on the desktop workstation side, all of those would qualify, of course. Laptops, ultrabooks, and something very new to us as of yesterday, Apex, we're really excited about this, is now certified to sell the Microsoft Surface line of devices. So Surface Books and Surface Pros. We're one of the only ones in the North State that can actually sell you this other than Best Buy, so we can bundle in some solutions for you as well. But laptops and ultrabooks, a lot of advancements in those. Touch screens, much faster, quieter, cooler. Those types of things are items you can take advantage of. We mentioned the scanners and the printers. Battery backups, those generally last 2 to 4 years, and you want to replace those. If there's a power failure, your network environment is totally dependent on having some battery backup power and then running long enough to do a safe shutdown of your technology so you don't lose any files or have any data corruption. And then what we see quite often now, businesses are storing more and more information on their network, so your storage requirements are going up. So SANs, storage area networks, or larger RAID arrays in your servers, those types of things can all be used in the Section 179 deduction. So this is the most typical things that we're dealing with, and you probably have most or all of these in your business. Okay, again, before I wrap up and we get to the questions, I am not a CPA. I've done my best to take the information that's out there and pull the relevant points out for this presentation, but definitely talk to your CPA. If they want to speak with us to talk about different options we have, we'd be happy to talk to them directly if you want to do that. And I encourage you to look at this and take advantage of it while you can. It's a good deduction for your business that you can use every year now that they've made it permanent. Okay, that's pretty much the information I had. Stuart, if there are any questions that people have asked, now is a good time. We can definitely cover those.
So, George, yeah, we do have a few questions that came in. The first question is, with regards to a new server, what does place into service mean?
Okay, excellent question. As I said, they definitely have some requirements on the items you're going to take for the deduction, and it's not enough to just order it. It has to come in, has to be delivered to your site, and what they call placed into service. So, it doesn't have to be running everything in your business, but in the case of a server, you're going to want to have it on site. You're going to want to have it on and running and doing something with it within your business. So, a lot of times we have clients that have multiple servers that play different roles, so it just needs to do what that server is intended for in order for you to take that deduction. So you do, that involves some professional services, some labor to get that up and running. So you want to think about that and move very quickly if it's a server you're going to be ordering, so that you can get it in time and get it installed and connected into your network. Good question.
And George, what about home businesses? Do the same rules apply to a company working out of their home?
Yes, if it's a business and you're doing, let's say, a Schedule C or your Subchapter S corporation, as long as you're using it for more than 50% of the business use, you can take that deduction as well. That's my understanding. Again, talk to your CPA, but from what I was reading, I'm pretty sure that's going to apply to you as well.
And then what about Microsoft Office licenses? Do they qualify for the deduction?
Microsoft Office definitely does. There was a slide I had that showed off-the-shelf software. So Microsoft Office is definitely generally available. It's off-the-shelf software and is not customized for your business. It's not a custom application. Those are the ones you would not be able to deduct. But Microsoft Office, if you want to go to Office 2016, take advantage of a lot of the new capabilities and features there, now would be a great time to do that.
And a couple other questions here, George. Let me just make sure. Yeah, one more question came in. What if I'm buying a vehicle for my business that's not an SUV? Would that qualify?
Yes, if it's, let's say, just transportation for, at Apex we have some cars that we use for transportation to get our technicians to and from the client sites. Those are not an SUV. They're that 6,000 pound gross weight rating or less. So those are items you can take as a Section 179 deduction. As I mentioned, if it is a larger vehicle with this more than a 6,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating, from what I was reading, you're able to take that deduction if it's a pickup truck, an ambulance, a cargo van, and it's used for your business. So so there are many businesses that are taking advantage of that.
Well, George, that kind of wraps up all the questions we had come in. Let me just do one quick last scan to make sure. Yep, that's all the questions. Any closing comments before we wrap up for today?
Nope. I really appreciate everybody coming on and getting this information today. We'll be recording this and posting it to our website. So if you want to review it or share it with somebody else in your organization, we'll have that up probably the next day or so. And if you have any questions at all, the contact information's on the screen. Just give us a ring at Apex at our 800 number. go to apex.com or shoot us an email at info@apex.com. We can monitor that, and we'd be happy to talk to you about if you have any technology needs in your business. Would that qualify? How would that look at getting implemented by the end of the year? What we would need to do. Again, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Stuart, for getting this rolling, and we'll talk to you guys on the next webinar. Thank you.